Record.
Okay.
All right. The first question.
Mhm.
All right. First of all, before those, hello, my name is Kendrick Viera-Ramos, and this is my career interview assignment for business communication at at Northwest Vista.
Okay.
For this
Mhm.
assignment, I was asked to interview a professional in the career field I am pursuing, which is fi acting in film and television.
Okay.
Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Mr. John Dominguez, Assistant Director of Fine Arts at Northside ISD, who has extensive experience in the fine arts field and works closely with aspiring actors and performers. This interview will help me gain real firsthand knowledge about what it takes to pursue a professional acting career beyond just research and understand the day-to-day realities of this industry. The interview will consist of 10 questions and will take approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Mr. Dominguez, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it. Now let's get started.
Okay. And right before we get started, I just want to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting myself. Just as I stated to you a few minutes before, my area of focus is instrumental music and band and orchestra and mariachi. We do have a theater assistant director that might be able to better answer some of these questions, but I've been involved in the fine arts for some time, so I'll do my best to answer whatever questions you have about it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
From your experience in fine arts, can you describe what a professional actor's daily life typically looks like?
Well, I'll, yes and no, just because I haven't been around the theater and the acting field very much. But I have witnessed that. I've been a conductor of musicals, a conductor of full orchestras, and I've been around a lot of productions. So the life of any fine arts person, any performer is busy. It's definitely not just a 9 to 5 job. It's there's definitely a lot of overtime involved in it because the acting portion or the performance portion that you see of any production, it's just a final product. There's hours and hours of preparation on an individual level with lines, with dialogue, with character development, with production and performance techniques and different instruction that has to be received from directors and coaches during all of that time. And that's just some of the group time. Then, or that's just some of the individual time. But then when you get into the actual cast and have to interact and rehearse lines and rehearse scenes and stage different parts of a production, which is where you're going to stand, how you're going to move, what your prop situation looks like. You have to think about always being in the light because theaters are usually pretty dark. They're going to use different lights and different settings to capture different moods, and being in that light is really important. The emotions that are involved have to be rehearsed. So it's definitely more than just a 9 to 5 job. It takes a lot of outside preparation and work, and that's not even including the rehearsals to put on a production.
That's actually impressive. Now, question number two. What are some of the best parts of pursuing a career in acting based on what you've seen?
Sure. Well, obviously everybody, not necessarily everybody, but a lot of people pursue this because they want to be a star. They want to be someone who is looked up to. They want to be someone who's admired for their character portrayals, just like any fine arts person would be, whether it be a dancer, whether it be a musician, or whether it be an actor, or whether it be a visual artist, right? But that's not necessarily the main reason to pursue a career in that. It has to be something that's fulfilling to the individual. It has to be a career path that is going to be not only rewarding to the individual, but also being willing to work in a cast of literally maybe sometimes 100 people, depending on if you're in a musical and you have a cast of singers and you have a cast of actors, you have tech theater directors involved. So those are the behind the scenes people that are going to do lighting, and they're going to do sound, and they're going to do props, and they're going to do scenery and all of that. So you have to be willing to collaborate, and you have to be willing to accept all of that and enjoy that and see that as fulfilling part of what you want to do. And I think that if you're willing to accept all the long hours we talked about in the previous question, and then also all of the elements that go into working with a big group of people and have everybody collaborate, If you're willing to do all that, then it should be a fulfilling career for anyone who wants to do that.
All right, question number three. What are the hardest challenges actors face that people don't usually talk about?
Oh yeah. Well, just like in any, whether you're a musician auditioning for one spot in a symphony orchestra in a different part of the country, or whether you're a dancer auditioning to be, to perform in musicals as well, or if you're an actor auditioning for a role, the toughest part is rejection. And you're going to get a lot of that if you want to be an actor, because there's going to be a lot of no's before there's a yes, because you're literally auditioning for one spot that one person is going to get, and there's going to be sometimes hundreds of people auditioning for that. And it takes time to learn how to audition, whether it be on an instrument, whether it be with voice, or whether it be with acting. It takes a long time to develop the tolerance for the stress that is involved in it. So I think something people don't talk about is just how hard it is to get a role, to get a spot. It's very tough.
Ah, so moving on.
Mhm.
Question number four. What kind of education or training do you recommend for someone who wants to act professionally?
Well, there's two different levels of education when it comes to any fine arts. There's the clinical classroom situation where you sit in a class and you learn about music, you learn about acting, you learn about dance, and do some what I call clinical performances, which is learning specific techniques and isolating those techniques and learning that part. The other is on the job training. Just speaking for myself, I was a percussionist, I was a drummer before I was a band director. Obviously, when I was in high school and middle school, I was a drummer. And so when I got out into college, I was taking my classes to learn music theory and learn all of the things that I needed to learn for my fundamentals. But I was also teaching in the public schools at that time as a contracted service person. I was trying to make a living by teaching while I was going to college. Actors do the same thing. If they're going to go to college to study theater arts and be an actor, they have to surround themselves with people that are already in the profession and learn what that is, learn how to audition, learn how to get a job, learn how to network, and do all of those things that they don't talk about in college. And you have to get your hands dirty, so to speak, right? Get your feet wet, so to speak. Get involved in that part of it, so that you have a better chance to get a role.
All right. Question number five. What skills are most important for someone who wants to succeed in the acting industry?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is determination, because just for all the things that I talked about when in two previous questions before that what's the thing that people don't talk about the most is that you don't get a job right away. You don't get an acting part. You might be 10 auditions before you get something, you know. I knew a percussionist that is now the principal percussionist in Pittsburgh, and he had to audition for 80 different orchestras before he won this job that has kind of set him up for a career. So you're going to get a lot of no's. So I think that determination is really an important characteristic. Also, you have to have a skill set that's going to lend itself to the stage. You have to be not necessarily a natural, but when I see someone act that is going to be great, they have to look like they're naturally gifted, whether they are or whether they work really hard just to get there. It has to be one or the other. So being determined is very important.
All right, so question number six. What does the future look like for actors given the changes in the entertainment industry?
Wow. Well, that's a really good question. And the answer is we just don't know. Uh, there's always going to be people that want to go to musicals, that want to go to plays, that want to go to shows, that want to experience events on Broadway and different productions and things of that sort. There's always going to be movies. There's always going to be television. There's always going to be small productions that are not necessarily just off Broadway, but are just shows in theaters that people want to go see. So there's a demand for it. We as artists have to keep the arts going. If we don't do it ourselves, as young people like you and older people that have been around like me for a while, if we don't keep it going and we don't keep making what we do relevant, then the future isn't as bright as it could be. We just need to keep pushing and advocating and showcasing the things that we do, because when we're able to showcase and we're able to put out great performances that people enjoy, they're going to go and talk about it with the community. They're going to talk about it with their friends. And that's what keeps our art forms alive.
So let me guess, because it's also because of AI.
Yeah, I mean, AI is definitely a thing that's out there. I mean, there's just something more, obviously more authentic. I'm biased, right? But I don't want an AI musician to ever replace the people the teachers that I work with that teach those students. You can't have an AI marching band at halftime, right? You can't
Oh.
put on a Super Bowl performance with AI. You can't put on a Broadway show with that either. There's a human connection there. I'm not discrediting AI. I think it can be fascinating. I think it can be a powerful tool, but we're not going to let that replace us, because people are not going to continue to pay money to go to see uh, things that are not human. That human connection is what fine arts are all about.
All right, thank you for that.
Mhm.
So, for question number 7, how did your passion for fine arts shape your career path?
Well, yeah, I mean, my career path has been all about passion for fine arts. I started when I was when I was in sixth grade. I've been in band that whole entire time. Kind of give you a brief rundown of all that. When I got into high school, we didn't have a percussion instructor, so I was a junior in high school and had to teach my peers myself how to play, how to be in a drum line. So that gave me a passion for being a band director. Went to college and did that and studied that. I also taught on the side, like I mentioned, to put myself through college, so to speak. I was a band director for 25 years before I came into this position at Holmes High School, and then also at Stevens High School. I opened Stevens High School in 2005 and was there for 20 years. And this is the end of my second year in this position here. My passion has always been for helping students do the best that they can and perform at a very high level and represent our district and represent their campus with excellence. And now I'm involved with helping teachers do that same thing, giving teachers resources and strategies and support as they help create those programs. I oversee 104 teachers in middle school and high school, and I oversee the elementary strings program, which is in all fifth grade campuses, all 81 fifth grade campuses in our district. So I have a passion for continuing to have the fine arts be a strong representative for Northside.
All right, question number 8. What advice would you give to a young person like me who wants to pursue acting professionally?
I guess I would have questions for you, and not necessarily that you have to answer. So these are somewhat rhetorical questions at the moment. But my questions would be, what are you doing right now to already further yourself besides going to college? Because college is great. And when it comes to fine arts, obviously we have to go to school, we have to get a degree, we have to get certified if you want to be a teacher. If you want to be an actor, you have to have experiences. You have to, you have to throw yourself into it by auditioning for roles, volunteering to be in the tech crew, even if it starts off with tech theater and you're running sound or running lights or moving props or doing whatever, just to be around it. You learn by being around the people that are doing what you want to do. Just like I was teaching percussion as a college kid. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, teaching percussion at a high school campus, and I was around band directors and people that were producing amazing things throughout all that time, and that helped me get more experience by being around it. So I would start off by saying, giving advice of throw yourself in right now. If you're going to school to do this, that's great. But if you spend 2 years going to school without any experience getting involved in productions or volunteering for productions or understanding what it takes to be an actor or a tech theater support team, then that's you got to get on that, right? That would be my advice.
All right, question number 9. What do you look for in students who have real potential for a career in acting?
Okay. Well, like I said before, right? I just want to reiterate. I don't do the I don't oversee the acting part as much, right? Or really at all. But I've just been around it quite a bit, So the elements are still the same, whether it's an instrumental person who's playing music or a dancer, or whether it be an actor. The question was, what attributes do we look for? Is that what it was?
Yes.
What attributes? You just know. I don't. It's kind of tough to describe, but when someone comes in and they're auditioning for a part, right? Auditioning for a role, and they start off by speaking, you can tell if that person is fit for that role pretty quick, or if they have the potential to be fit for that role pretty quick. There's just something about it. So you could be the most brilliant actor in the entire world and go in and audition for a role that doesn't fit you as an actor exactly, and might not get it. It might be somebody else with less experience that fits that role and portrays that character just better. You might have another audition the next day for a different role, and you nail it, and there's no question that you're the person that should be that actor, that person that should portray that role. So it varies. It's not one size fits all. Like if you were to go to for a computer tech job and you have a skill set and everybody has the same skill set, then you just find the person who has the best skills for the most part, and they're the person that gets the job. Acting's like not like that. You have to fit that role. It has to be that person. Just like a classical jazz saxophone or a classical saxophone player that goes in and auditions for a jazz role in a big band, they're not necessarily going to get it no matter how good they are or how much they've trained because they don't have that expertise. They don't have that those qualities that fit that specific role. So that's a tough one, and that's one to just consider. And that's why there's a lot of no's along the way because there are uh, there are some parts that just don't fit, and then hopefully there are some that do fit.
And then the 10th and final question. What three words would you use to describe the ideal person for a career in acting?
3 words. Wow. Well, the first one is talent because you have to have. It doesn't have to be all talent, but you have to have some skill. You have to have some talent in this field to be able to make it, right? So it starts off there. Then the next thing I would use kind of a hyphenated word, but I got to put 2 words together: work ethic. It's about how hard you work and how willing you are to put in all the time that's necessary. And how much time is necessary, we don't know. If you're amazingly talented and amazingly gifted, it might not be as much time as someone who is not, that needs to pursue it and work a little bit harder. So I would do work ethic as my number 2 word, and my third word is one that I talked about before: is being determined. Because if you've got to know that you're going to get a lot of no's along the way, because it's not like they do mass hirings for actors. You can get into a cast role. You can be someone who's kind of a in a scene and in a big group that doesn't necessarily have speaking lines, and those are probably a little bit easier to find. I forget the term for what that's called, being and just kind of like in the cast and the background type person. Do you know what I'm talking about?
A minor character or a background character?
Yeah, one of those. One of those. Those are probably a little bit easier, but I'm assuming that most people go into this profession wanting to get a more of a lead role or more of a supporting cast part where they have lines, where they have a role in it, and they play a factor. But those are tough to come by because there's a lot of people going for them. So determination is definitely the third and final word that I would use that's necessary uh, for people who are pursuing this career to have.
All right, those were all my questions, Mr. Dominguez. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge and experience with me. This has been incredibly helpful and insightful for my assignment and for my future career path. This was
Awesome.
Kendrick Viera-Ramos, me, interviewing you for my career interview assignment at Northwest Vista. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And best wishes to you. Okay. You take care.
All right, goodbye.